honored to have Bob Crippen here. Bob piloted the first orbital flight of the Space Shuttle program, STS-1, which was launched on April 12, 1981, aboard the Shuttle Columbia. STS-1 was a 54.5-hour mission orbiting the Earth 37 times. U.S. Astronaut Hall of Famer Dan Brandenstein flew his first flight on August 30th, 1983. STS-8 was not only Dan's first flight, but was Space Shuttle Challenger's first night launch and landing mission. The 13th Space Shuttle flight, and the first to include 2 women, is STS-41G. Joining Commander Bob Crippen, who's already on the stage, and Mission Specialist Dave Liestma, who will join us in a few minutes, pilot John McBride. Representing the 5th and last shuttle mission of 1984, STS-51A, please welcome Mission Specialist Anna Lee Fisher. STS-51A was a Space Shuttle Discovery mission launched in November 8, 1984, and marked the first time a shuttle deployed 2 communication satellites and retrieved from orbit 2 other communication satellites. Launched on October 3, 1985, STS-51J was the first flight of the Space Shuttle Atlantis. Representing STS-51J today is the commander of the mission, veteran of 3 Space Shuttle flights, U.S. Astronaut Hall of Famer, Carol Bobko. Please give a warm welcome to STS-61B commander, veteran of 3 Space Shuttle missions, and U.S. Astronaut Hall of Famer, Brewster Shaw. STS-61B was launched November 26, 1985, and marks the quickest turnaround of a shuttle orbiter from launch to launch. STS-27 was a 4-day mission launched on December 2nd, 1988, as a 5-person crew, 3 of whom are here today. From Atlantis' mission, STS-27, please put your hands together for pilot Guy Gardner and Astronaut Hall of Fame Mission Specialist Bill Shepard. Mission Specialist Mike Mullane will join us in a few minutes. Launching on May 4th, 1989, was Atlantis mission STS-30, which deployed the Venus-bound Magellan probe into orbit. Representing STS-30 is U.S. Astronaut Hall of Famer Norm Thagard. Norm served as mission specialist aboard 4 Space Shuttle missions and was the first American to occupy Russia's Mir space station. From Atlantis' 5th flight, STS-34, please welcome pilot Mike McCulley. Mission Specialist Ellen Baker will join us shortly. STS-34 launched on October 18, 1989, deploying the Jupiter-bound Galileo probe. STS-36 aboard Atlantis was the 4th night launch of the shuttle program and occurred on February 28, 1990, carrying a classified payload for the United States Department of Defense. From STS-36, please welcome Mission Specialist Mike Mullane. We have a few astronauts joining us today from the STS-41 mission, which had the primary objective of launching the Ulysses probe into space, part of the International Solar Polar Mission. Please welcome to the stage another U.S. Astronaut Hall of Famer and current director of the Kennedy Space Center, Bob Cabana. Joining Bob, Mission Specialist Bill Shepard on the stage, and Bruce Melnick. Go this way. He can run a space center, but he doesn't know which way to go. Representing STS-38, please give a warm welcome to Astronaut Hall of Famer and Commander Dick Covey, Astronaut Hall of Fame pilot Frank Culbertson, and Mission Specialist Sam Gaymar. Dick is a veteran of 4 space flights, while Frank and Sam each flew on 3 space flights. On STS-38, Dick, Frank, Sam, and their fellow crew members logged more than 2 million miles and 79 revolutions in a 4-day mission, which carried a classified payload for the Department of Defense. Representing STS-35, please welcome Payload Specialist Sam Durrance. STS-35 was a Space Shuttle Challenger mission that launched on December 2nd, 1990, and was devoted to astronomical observations with Astro 1, a Space Lab observatory consisting of 4 telescopes. Next, please welcome STS-37 pilot Ken Cameron. STS-37 was a 6-day mission with the primary objective of launching the Compton Gamma Ray Observatory, the second of the great observatories, which include the Visible Spectrum Hubble Space Telescope, the Chandra X-ray Observatory, and the Infrared Spitzer Space Telescope, 1985. STS-43 was the 9th mission of the Space Shuttle Atlantis, with the primary goal of launching the 4th Tracking and Data Relay Satellite. Here to represent STS-43, pilot of the mission, Mike Baker. Mike. STS-44, launched on November 24th, 1991, was a mission dedicated to the U.S. Department of Defense. Here to represent this flight, please give a warm welcome to Mission Specialist Mario Rumko. Mario? From STS-45, please put your hands together for the current NASA Administrator and Astronaut Hall of Famer, the Honorable Charlie Bolden, pilot Brian Duffy, and mission specialist Dave Leitsman. Brian is a veteran of 4 space flights, David a veteran of 3, and you'll hear a lot more about Charlie's accomplishments later in the program. From STS-46, the mission to deploy the European Space Agency's Eureka, the European Retrievable Carrier. Please welcome pilot Andy Allen, veteran of 3 space flights. Mission specialist of STS-43, Marcia Ivins, will join us shortly. Representing STS-66, which was a 10-day mission, continuing the series of Space Lab flights to study the energy of the sun and how it affects Earth's climate and environment. Please welcome a veteran of 6 space flights, U.S. Astronaut Hall of Famer Kurt Brown. Also joining Kurt is Ellen Ochoa, veteran of 4 space flights and current director of the Lyndon B. Johnson Space Center in Houston. STS-71 was the first mission to carry out a space shuttle docking with the Mir space station. Joining mission specialist Norm Thagard and Charlie Precourt, who will join the group shortly, represent STS-71, Ellen Baker. STS-74 was the second docking mission of a U.S. space shuttle to the Russian Mir space station. Joining Commander Ken Cameron already on stage, put your hands together for Jim Halsell, a veteran of 5 space flights. Jim? STS-76 was a mission that traveled almost 4 million miles and the 3rd successful mission to dock with the Russian space station Mir. Please welcome mission specialist Ron Sega to the stage. Veteran of 2 space flights, Ron Sega. Please welcome STS-79 Commander Bill Reedy. Bill led his team on a successful mission docking with Mir and delivering equipment, supplies, and relief personnel. Bill Reedy. STS-81, launched on September 19, 1996, was the second mission to Mir that involved an exchange of U.S. astronauts. Joining Commander Mike Baker already on stage, please welcome mission specialist Marcia Ivins, veteran of 5 space flights. STS-84 was the 6th shuttle Mir docking mission, part of the NASA Mir program. The mission was highlighted with the transfer of 4 successful U.S. crew members to the Russian space station. With us tonight is Astronaut Hall of Famer Charlie Precourt, commander of STS-84. Charlie? STS-86 was the 7th Mir docking mission by the space shuttle. The mission was highlighted with the exchange of crew members to continue Phase 1B of the NASA Mir program. Cooperative effort with permanent presence of a U.S. astronaut on the Russian space station. From STS-86, please welcome mission specialists Wendy Lawrence and Dave Wolf. STS-101, launched on May 9, 2000, was a resupply mission to the International Space Station and was the first to fly with the glass cockpit. Pilot Jim Halsell, already on stage, represents STS-101, his second mission on Atlantis. Representing STS-106 is pilot Scott Altman, four-time spaceflight veteran. STS-106 was an Atlantis mission to the International Space Station with the goal of preparing the VESDA service module, the early living quarters for the station for the arrival of the first residents of expedition crew at the start of a permanent human presence on the new outpost. STS-98 launched February 7, 2001 and delivered the Destiny Laboratory module to the International Space Station. Mission Specialist Marsha Ivins, already on stage, also representing STS-98. Three-time mission specialist J.R. Riley is here representing STS-104, which launched July 12, 2001. STS-104 was a mission to the International Space Station with a primary objective to install the Quest Joint Airlock and assist with maintenance on the ISS. STS-110 launched on April 8, 2002 with the purpose to install the S0 truss segment, which forms the backbone of the truss structure on the ISS. Already on stage, mission specialist of the flight and current Lyndon Johnson director, Ellen Ochoa. Joining her to represent the mission, Mike Bloomfield. Representing STS-112, a 4.5 million mile mission that delivered the 28,000-pound starboard one truss segment to the ISS. Our mission specialist, Dave Wolf, was already on stage, and three-time Atlantis veteran, Sandy Magnus. Another three-time Atlantis veteran is STS-115 pilot Chris Ferguson, who's going to join us shortly. STS-115 successfully delivered the second port side truss segment, a pair of solar arrays, and batteries to the ISS. Launching on July 8, 2007, STS-117 delivered to the ISS the second starboard truss segment and its associated energy systems. Joining mission specialist J.R. Riley, already on stage, please give a warm welcome, flight engineer Clayton Anderson. Launching on February 7, 2008, the primary objective of STS-122 was to deliver the European Columbus Science Laboratory, built by the European Space Agency, to the International Space Station. Slow down, don't walk any faster. Here to represent STS-122, enjoy your bows. He's the Associate Administrator for Education, Leland Melvin. Leland. Joining STS-125 Commander Scott Altman, who's already on stage, are pilots Ray J. Johnson and mission specialist Mike Good. STS-125, launched on May 11, 2009, was the fifth and final space shuttle servicing mission to the Hubble Space Telescope. STS-129 was launched on November 16, 2009, and focused on staging space components outside the International Space Station. Already on stage and here to represent STS-129 mission specialist and NASA Associate Administrator for Education, Leland Melvin. STS-132 launched on May 14, 2010, with a payload that included the Russian Razvet mini research module along with an integrated cargo carrier vertical light deployment to the ISS. Joining Mike Good to represent the mission, please put your hands together, Commander Ken Ham. On July 8, 2011, STS-135 aboard Atlantis, multi-purpose logistics model Raffaello, and the lightweight multi-purpose carrier to the ISS. With a successful landing at the Kennedy Space Center on July 21, 2011, Atlantis marked the final mission of America's Space Shuttle program. Already on Chris Ferguson. We are here to celebrate not only the incredible new home for the Space Shuttle Atlantis, but to also recognize the thousands of men and women who have made NASA's Space Shuttle program possible throughout the years. A special thanks to all of you goes out to the workers of the entire Space Shuttle program throughout the 30-year history. Let's also give a round of applause to support our Space Shuttle program has received from Space Florida and its president and CEO, Frank DeBello, and all the elected officials joining us today. Thank you. Certainly without the support of all of you, the Space Shuttle Atlantis would not be here today. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together one more time for this extraordinary group of astronauts. To begin our program, here to sing our national anthem, please rise and welcome NASA's Karen Griffin.
So proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. O'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the say
I still remember the first space shuttle launch on April 12, 1981, 135 missions and 32 years later. It is remarkable to think of all the times that I watched the launches and the landings here and to think of what a remarkable spacecraft it was. But it's the people who, of course, made these vehicles remarkable. People like Terry White, if you know Terry, of the famous white handlebar mustache. I saw Terry last night, and he worked on the flow of the vehicles, and it reminded me of all the friendships I've established and the great stories over the years. And I was talking briefly this morning with Dick Covey, and reminded me of a story from back in the mid-'80s or so, right around the time of return to flight, late '80s, after Challenger, and Dick had autographed signed a picture to my young sons at the time, and on the picture he wrote, "When you guys get older," that's what he wrote on the picture, "your dad's going to say that he knew me." He didn't. True, but that's the kind of wonderful people they were and are. Beginning with Columbia, continuing with Challenger, Discovery, Atlantis, Endeavour, the Space Shuttle was humanity's first reusable spacecraft. Never take for granted this overriding significance. Humanity's first reusable spacecraft. Each year, over 1.5 million people from all over the world visit the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex to enjoy its many attractions and educational programs. With the exciting new addition of Space Shuttle Atlantis, that number is sure to exponentially grow. To help ensure NASA's success, NASA is pleased to work with Delaware North Companies, a global leader in hospitality and food services. Leading its team for this visitor complex is Bill Moore. In addition to his work here, Bill serves on several boards for various community organizations. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to my friend, Chief Operating Officer Bill Moore.
Morning, everybody. Anybody have trouble finding us this morning? We put this little icon in back of us so you could find your way from the front gate to here. Looks like it worked pretty good. Good morning to all of you, and thanks for coming out. And to Atlantis, welcome home. After serving the world for over 30 years, the Space Shuttle has earned its place in history and has come to a final stop. Just a little less than 2 years ago, Commander Chris Ferguson, sitting behind me today, said these words after a successful touchdown of the last Space Shuttle flight, STS-135 and Space Shuttle Atlantis. Today, they're just as appropriate as we celebrate Atlantis' final stop, but not her final mission, here at the Kennedy Space Center. We could not be more proud of having Atlantis with us today, and really looking forward to unveiling it for all of you to come see her. As you heard John say, we had a little soiree last night, and the astronaut families and those that worked on the shuttle and the astronauts, and to see their faces when we showed them Atlantis was a memory that will last with all of us for a lifetime. We're going to show Atlantis to you as the way the astronauts saw her, in space, in her finest hours as she just left the space station, just pulling back and ready to begin her journey home. Kennedy Space Center is the only place in the world you'll actually see a space shuttle tilted to one side. Its payload bay doors open. By the way, that sounds like a really simple thing to do. Works great in zero-G gravity. Not quite the same here on Earth. Today, joining us in our celebration are our partners at NASA, with which we could not have been where we're standing today. Many other contractors and companies and organizations, really too numerous to mention. We share in a proud moment with many of us here on the Space Coast who worked very hard to keep an orbiter here, where orbiters have a home, where all 135 missions launch from, right here at the Kennedy Space Center. And of course, we share it with those men and women around the world, but particularly here in this country, who built the shuttles, who processed them, who flew them, who brought them home, and got them ready to fly again. We ride on the shoulders of many today, and to all of them, I say thank you. Celebrating the efforts of exactly is what we want to do today. Celebrate the vehicles, celebrate the people, pay tribute to those, and to understand the Space Shuttle program, the pride, and you'll see when you get inside the patriotism for this country that Atlantis represents. Just as the future of our space program rides on the shoulders of the shuttle and those who flew her and those who worked on her, it's made possible by everyone here who shared a dream of manned space flight. They worked tirelessly to make it a reality, and we will fly men from the Kennedy Space Center again into space. You know, Atlantis is an historic icon, an artifact. Only 3 in the world that are space flown, and we have one here. But we're going to put you in a little bit different position today when you go in. You're going to see what it's like to be an astronaut. You can land the shuttle. I did it yesterday. I did the easy version, not the hard one. You can dock to the space station. You can manipulate the shuttle's robotic arm. And if you're really good, you can take a spacewalk. These are just a few of the many interactive activities we have for our guests to enjoy, making this the world's most comprehensive, most immersive, most exciting attraction devoted to a space shuttle. And keep in mind, as you're walking through today, it's not funded with a single dollar of taxpayer money. Well, except for the orbiter, of course. When Atlantis landed for the final time on July 21st, 2011, it was said that its voyage had come to an end. But we like to think a little differently here. The Atlantis voyage has not come to an end. Atlantis' new mission is just beginning, and that is to educate, to inspire a whole new generation of space explorers. With someone in the audience today, maybe 8 or 9 years old, will be that individual that goes beyond low Earth orbit, goes way out into space, maybe to a planet, maybe to an asteroid. We want them to think about that today as they see this magnificent vehicle. So forgive me, Commander Ferguson, but I'm going to steal another line from you if I can. Last July, when Chris brought Atlantis home for the last time, he said, "The space shuttle has changed the way we view the world, and it's changed the way we view the universe." We here at the Kennedy Space Center and the Visitor Complex know that our universe will be changed forever because of Columbia, Challenger, Discovery, Endeavour, and our good ship Atlantis. Welcome home.
Thank you, Bill. Also joining us today is Rick Abramson, who for 8 years served as President and Chief Operating Officer of the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex. In 2002, Rick joined the ranks of some of the most respected members of the space program when he earned the Dr. Kurt H. Davis Award from the National Space Club Florida for his role in educating and inspiring the Visitor Complex's millions of guests. Rick also received NASA's highest achievement award for non-government employees, the NASA Public Service Medal. Please give a warm welcome to President of Delaware North Parks and Resorts and Executive Chairman of Delaware North Australia and Asia, Rick Abramson. Rick.
Well, good morning and welcome. There's a lot of firsts today. You'll be the first to be in a crowd of these historic heroes behind me, and you're first of the public to come inside to see this. I only make one ask of you. If you like it, tell someone to tell someone to tell someone how great NASA, Atlantis, and the space program is. You know, we have thank you. We have this distinct privilege of having this gathering of astronauts here today, which is all well and good. But to be able to tell their story and take it the next step is up to you. When we began this mission with NASA of creating this moving tribute to tell the story of the Space Shuttle program, we knew it had to be special. We knew we had to tell the story of Atlantis and the story of the astronauts. The astronauts who flew her in a special way that we could pay tribute to every remarkable mission. Space Shuttle Atlantis, those men and women who flew her, and the thousands of people who worked to make the missions possible, they deserve nothing less. And I can tell you, after experiencing the attraction myself, I know the visitors, after they see it, will be left in awe and moved beyond anything they might ever expect. Let me take a minute to thank a few people that helped bring the Space Shuttle Atlantis and all you see at the visitor complex to life. Of course, one of the commanders of Atlantis, the Honorable Charlie Bolin. Our boss and the director of the Kennedy Space Center, Bob Cabana. And Cheryl Hurst with NASA. Thank each and every one of you and everybody who stood behind you and with you and helped you. And everybody at NASA for your vision, your partnership to bring this whole project to reality. I really hope we made you proud. I think we did. I will tell you, I got a great job. I got a great boss, I got a great job, and I have a great fortune of working for one of the most admired companies, one of the coolest companies in the world, Delaware North. Delaware North is nearly 100 years old, still owned by we're only the second generation CEO, still owned by the Jacobs family since the beginning. The Jacobs family and the family morals, and they believe in things, and they believe in NASA, and they believe in NASA's missions. And I'm sure you'll be able to see today the company and the family's belief in everything we do here. I'd really like to thank my boss, Chuck Moran, Delaware North's president, for it's his leadership and forward-thinking attitude that has brought us to where we are today. I also want to thank the entire executive team in Buffalo for continuing supporting the mission and the vision of the visitor complex. And of course, thank you. I'd be remiss without thanking probably the key person for me here, and a big thank you to Bill Moore and his team and the hundreds of associates out there you'll see today, you'll see and hear for what they did. Our people are very dedicated to tell the NASA story, past, present, and future. But there are hundreds of individuals and companies who played a role for this new $100 million Space Shuttle Atlantis, and you will see, beyond anyone's belief, this is once in a lifetime you'll be able to have this experience and see this, not unless you want to come back next week. Atlantis is greatly going to enhance the Kennedy Space Center visitor complex. It's going to enhance the landscape of Florida for tourism. It's going to enhance the United States. I was at a tourism conference about 2 weeks ago, and talking with people from Brazil, talking with people from China, talking with people from Japan, talking about the shuttle program, the International Space Station, and what we're going to have on display. People are going to be coming to the United States, spending money here, good for our economy, good for Florida, good for the Space Coast, and be able to see this must-see destination. I hope you'll see it today. I hope you'll enjoy it and love it as much as I do. And I just want to ask you one thing. If you do, tell someone to tell someone to tell someone to tell someone to come to the Space Coast and the Kennedy Space Center. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rick. And I just want to pick up on something that he had said, and I think that most of you will agree that there are a lot of young people here and in the future who will come through these doors and under this giant external tank and solid rocket boosters, and it is inspirational. And it may be that little girl right over there who's yawning on her dad's shoulders in the pink. It may be someone else in this crowd. And these young people will sit there and they'll look at this and they're going to say, you know what? I can do better. And that's what everybody here wants. That next generation is going to be inspired by what they see here. Without Atlantis and her fellow space shuttles, we would not have an International Space Station, the most complex structure ever built in space and the centerpiece of today's human spaceflight activities in low Earth orbit. Since Expedition 1 in 2000, the space station has continuous human occupation and has been visited by 204 men and women. Among those currently living on the International Space Station are Dr. Karen Nyberg, the 50th woman in space, and Christopher Cassidy, the 500th person to fly in space. Just downloaded from the space station, Dr. Karen Nyberg and Christopher Cassidy.
Hello, friends at the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex. I'm Karen Nyberg, and this is Chris Cassidy of Expedition 36. We are thrilled to be a part of this momentous celebration. Atlantis holds a place near and dear to my heart, and this exhibit embodies her accomplishments and legacy.
Without the Space Shuttle program and the dedicated professionals who made it possible, we literally would not be here today. In fact, Atlantis delivered this very module we're speaking to you from. Piece by piece, this space station was assembled 220 miles above the Earth at over 17,500 miles an hour. Atlantis was critical in both assembly and resupply during her 12 missions to our orbiting outpost. Station is now a convergence of science, technology, and human innovation that is helping us learn what it means to be a spacefaring people by demonstrating new technologies and making research breakthroughs not possible on Earth.
Thank you for allowing us to be a small part of today's celebration. Welcome home, Atlantis, from the crew of Expedition 36.
You didn't catch that, right? She said Expedition 36. Kind of hard to believe. Expedition 36. So let that sink in for a minute. Since its creation in October 1st, 1958, NASA has enjoyed a rich history of unique scientific and technological achievements in human spaceflight, aeronautics, space science, and space applications. Contributing to that history in front of and behind the scenes is a long list of men and women, among them the elite group of astronauts with us today. One of whom, Bob Cabana, who was on that first assembly mission to the International Space Station. A veteran of 4 space flights, Bob logged 38 days in space, serving as the pilot of STS-41, STS-53, and mission commander on STS-65 and STS-88. He's received numerous personal awards and decorations, Distinguished Flying Cross, Presidential Distinguished Rank Award, National Space Club Florida, and he told me to abbreviate, so et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Currently serving as the 10th director of NASA's John F. Kennedy Space Center. Please give a very warm welcome to Bob Cabana.
Thanks, John. Hey, if you think that's impressive, just wait till you get inside. It is really special. What a special weekend this has been. I am so proud and privileged to be part of this amazing team. It's been so good to see so many friends and share so many stories. This is truly an amazing team. It was an amazing contractor, civil service, NASA team that did so many momentous things with the Space Shuttle over its 30-year history. It was a great partnership between NASA, Delaware North, PGAV, Pinwall, to put this exhibit together. And I couldn't be more proud of the display of Atlantis. It truly is special, and believe me, from all of us that had the privilege to fly in space, we think they did it right, and I know that you will too. When I was a small boy, we took a trip to Washington, D.C., and I remember going to the Smithsonian and seeing the Wright Flyer and the Spirit of St. Louis hanging from the ceiling. And that instilled in me a goal, a desire, a dream, a passion to fly. And I was fortunate enough to fulfill that dream. And one thing kind of led to another. I never dreamed I'd be an astronaut, let alone back here as the director of the Kennedy Space Center. But it initiated that spark. It got me going. And it's my hope that some young boy or girl is going to see Atlantis in there during one of their visits, and it's going to put that spark in them. That spark to say, I want to fly. I want to be an astronaut. I want to explore. And that's what NASA's going to do. We're going to move on. We're going to go exploring. We are going to leave planet Earth. We're going to go to asteroids, the moon, Mars, and beyond, because that's what we do. And right now, over in the ONC building in the high bay over there, we're building America's next spacecraft to take astronauts beyond planet Earth, and it's flying on a test flight next year. And in 2017, it's going to fly on a really big rocket, and in 2021, we're going to have crews on board. We're enabling a commercial crew program that's going to take our astronauts to our International Space Station. We are doing great things, and we're going to continue to do great things because of this amazing team. So thank you for your support. Please enjoy this exhibit today. It truly is special. Thank you.
Last night was great. The same thing? Same thing. A man who needs no introduction, so we won't give him one. So, Charlie Bolden.
John, thanks very much. Bob just asked, how come you do what he says and you didn't do what I said? I said to Bob, it's because I'm the administrator, and in NASA, nobody ever listens to me. At least John Zarella does. So, thank you, John. Thank you. I want to thank the Kennedy Space Center workforce, first of all. You all are awesome. We're bringing Atlantis home today publicly, and I don't know how many people were around as we got to this day, but you know you have special people, many of whom are standing out here in this audience. You know you have special people when they know that every evolution they do puts them one day closer to not working anymore. And yet they work every single day tirelessly because they believe in the future. And so when I say I want to thank the Kennedy Space Center workforce, people of the Space Coast, today and into the future, I really mean that. You all are incredibly special people, and this nation owes you a super debt of gratitude. You know, it may seem strange to you that I'm talking to a vehicle when I say welcome home Atlantis, but for everybody sitting on the stage, or most of us sitting on the stage, you know that it's not like a vehicle, it's like a person. I think everybody can think back to when you came down here for TCDT, the Terminal Countdown Demonstration Test, and you know, you go out to the pad and it's a vehicle. It's not doing anything, it's just there. And you get in it, you go through a mock launch and everything seems okay, and then you come back 2 weeks later and it is really, really different because it's breathing. I mean, it's going... And you thought you were okay until this thing starts talking to you. So when I say welcome home Atlantis, I mean welcome home Atlantis, because for most of us on this stage, it has been a dear friend. It has taken us to places that we never dreamed and brought us safely home. And so it's very special. It's not far from here, Atlantis, where you launched so many times. There's no better way to launch NASA into our new era of human spaceflight than to take a moment to salute the men, women, and the flying machines that have helped our nation lead the world in space exploration. It's great to see so many former astronauts here, and I know people say, but there's no such thing as a former. Yeah, we're former, and we understand that. Especially good to see my friend from Gemini and Apollo, who shall remain nameless, and who promised that if I didn't call his name, he wouldn't say anything bad about me, Dick Gordon. You and the men and women here at the Kennedy Space Center and throughout NASA who supported you, who are true American heroes. I was proud to serve with all of you. I was proud to fly with some of you. And I stand here today as a lifetime member of NASA's Astronaut Corps family. I want you to know that everything we're planning for the future, from sending humans to an asteroid to sending humans to Mars, is only possible because of the breakthroughs and the groundwork that all of you laid over the 30-year, absolutely incredible history of the Shuttle program and the more than 50 years of human spaceflight. Your accomplishments are amazing. They're history upon which great nations are built. And believe me, we're going to continue in your tradition to break new barriers and reach new frontiers. Our newest group of 8 astronaut candidates, 4 men and 4 women, who were introduced to the world last week, stand on all of your shoulders. Just as when I got the call in 1980 that I was going to join the NASA Astronaut Corps, they're full of hope, possibility, and pride for the chance to be a part of our nation's great legacy to space exploration. Space Shuttle Atlantis is a critical part of that NASA history. The fourth of our space shuttle, rated space shuttles, Atlantis was delivered to Kennedy in 1985 and immediately became a workhorse of the fleet. She has 33 missions under her belt, including NASA's final shuttle mission that rolled to its final stop here at the Kennedy Space Center on July 21st, 2011. I will never forget the thrill of commanding STS-45 and flying with my Shuttle Atlantis crewmates, Brian Duffy, Kathy Sullivan, Dave Leitsma, C. Michael Foale, Baron Lichtenberg, and Kirk Frommout. Like all shuttle crews, we work together as a team on some of the cutting-edge science of our day. We help scientists on the ground understand what we were undergoing in space. And we were confident that our work would advance our nation and improve life on Earth. While Atlantis has flown her last mission to space, she lives on to fulfill a new and important mission right here on Earth. She'll inspire a new generation of explorers who one day may join us on missions to Mars and other destinations. Not far from here, the Orion crew capsule that will carry them on these missions is in preparation for its first test flight next year. On a launch pad, also not far from here, industry partners are launching cargo to the International Space Station and will once again soon launch astronauts from American soil. I want to congratulate the team here at the Kennedy Visitors Complex for creating the most comprehensive, interactive, and exciting tribute to the 30-year phenomenal shuttle program. This exhibit is a powerful reminder of NASA's unmatched accomplishments during more than 50 years of exploration and the great future that lies ahead. With her payload bay doors wide open, Atlantis is literally reaching out with open arms to welcome all visitors, create our unprecedented achievements in space, and inspire a new generation. And now, Bill, Rick, Bob, come on up and let's launch this baby. This is really scary.
You skipped a part, but that's okay. Don't worry about it. We're fine. That's why he has a pilot, he said. You didn't skip any parts up there, did you? No. This, we're going to do the countdown now, gentlemen. I think you are ready. And the final go at T-minus 10 and counting. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Charlie, can you come up here and do that breathing thing again and how the vehicle breathes? You know, if it talks to you, there is therapy for that, I understand. The time has almost come now to experience the Space Shuttle Atlantis. In a few moments, ladies and gentlemen, the doors will officially open. Before we let you all go, I just want to say thank you to a couple of friends of mine, Tim Macy and Andrea Farmer, who for years have made my job very, very easy. Thank you all for joining us. It was my pleasure to be here, and I hope to see you here again and again and again, because one time will not be enough. Trust me. Enjoy.
got grand opening.
That's a great way to cut the ribbon.
Oh, heck yeah. I'll tell you what, during that montage, I was almost going to cry. I was tearing up.
You're going to tell me.
Oh, my God. Alright, here we go, walking through. Oh, wow.
The Space Shuttle Endeavour on an ambitious mission to service
Oh
the
my
Hubble
gosh.
Space Telescope.
Gave this. Oh my gosh. You gotta be kidding me. Look at her. Oh, wow. Oh, so this is where they come out?
Yeah, they come out through the zone.
Okay, let's get up over here. Right here. Oh. We're staying right in front of Atlantis, and wow, she's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
She's my twin, and she came from North Carolina yesterday.
Holy cow.
Me too. Oh, my twin lives in Savannah, Georgia. Okay, great. Vinegar? Yeah, we are too. Okay. 4 rows. And where do you want to start?
That's incredible. To see a girl like this is amazing. And of course, when we were 20 feet away from it, and we have this.
What's phenomenal is you see all 360. You see the main engines, and then you see the underbelly. You go down there, you have a better view from the wings over there. Literally, the tip of that wing.
There's some of the astronauts coming in.
I think I remember that. I put it on there yesterday. Get enough exercise? Of course, the one thing I gotta get is a shot of all of them standing in front. You gotta go and be along here. Yeah, which means you probably should be down there.
outside. Oh, well, we're going to be fine. Yeah.
Pretty sure they will. About 35 of them. 40, I think. I don't know.